I'm Lauren, certified building biologist, wellness interior designer, and healthy home expert. I want to welcome you to the Haus Holistics video podcast, where we explore how healthier buildings create healthier people. I'll be bringing you conversations with some of the brightest minds in the world, because perhaps your full potential is on the other side of a healthier environment. I'm your host, Lauren Reday. Let's go deeper. Hello, everyone. Today, we are going to be talking about sleep hygiene and how to create a sleep sanctuary. So we are going to be covering topics such as air quality, lighting, electromagnetic radiation, beds, bedding, and more. And so I am so excited to be joined by cohort and friend Laura Canavan Hayes, who is a building biologist, functional medicine health coach, yoga and meditation teacher, who founded the BioWeaver Method to integrate three important areas that now affect modern health: healthy building, healthy body, and healthy technology. Welcome to the podcast, Laura.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here. I'm a huge fan of your work, so it's such a
Oh.
pleasure to be in this space with you.
Well, I'm
Thank you.
excited to have you on today. I think our conversation is going to be extremely informative. You have so much wisdom and knowledge in this area around healthy sleep. And so my first question for you is, how was your sleep last night?
It was pretty good, but my 5-year-old is like, I'm really scared in my room, mommy. And so she comes in and she gives me like this much space, even though I got a huge bed to potentially fit 4 people because I have 2 kids. And then she turns a lot during the night. But I go to sleep just go back to sleep straight away, which is good. But this morning I was like, I wonder what my sleep's going to be like when she gets older and I don't have anyone moving around and kicking. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was still really good. Because I wake up and then sometimes if I wake up a little earlier, I'll like consciously go, oh, send me a gorgeous dream, and I'll go into like a lovely lucid dreaming state. So I kind of like doing that in the morning. And sometimes I just get up. My little guy's an early riser, so I'll get up. But thank God, even before I had health issues and before building biology, I've always slept really well.
Well, I want to hear a little bit more about where you're tuning in from, and then a little bit more about who you are. And we're going to get into different parts of your story as we weave through this conversation. But yeah, where are you tuning from? And
Beautiful.
tell us more about you.
Yeah, I'm in Dublin in Ireland, and it has been the most incredible weather here. We get a lot of rain in Ireland, which is why we're called the Emerald Isle, and we're
Right.
super green, and all our cows eat fresh green grass all year round. Um, and it's just been like beautiful weather. You guys are in Fahrenheit and we're in Celsius, so
Right.
it's been like 15 to 21 degrees Celsius, which is like the summer for Ireland. And every day it's been incredible. So yeah, everyone's very happy because when the sun shines here, and we get a lot of grey skies. So we're like, what's going on with the weather? It's amazing. Everyone's going around like happy
Yeah.
buzzy bees. And I'm in Clontarf, which is right on the
Okay.
sea. So I do a lot of sea swimming, and it's also very close to the city centre and very close to the airport. We're like a tiny
I thought
island.
I heard a seagull
Um,
in the background.
yeah,
Mhm.
probably. Yeah, seagulls, starlings, squirrels. I even had a peregrine kite, I think, in my garden a few months ago, which had a little baby rook in its claws, and it was literally
I
just
love
outside
it.
my office here, and I saw the big wingspan, and we have foxes. Yeah, we're right by a huge park
Okay.
as well. So there's a lot of mature trees, and I have a really long, beautiful garden. So we see a lot of wildlife. It's amazing. Lots of different
That's
birds.
amazing. Can you tell us a little bit more about the BioWeaver method?
Sure. So I was in animation at the time. So I started as a foreign exchange trader and relationship manager in corporate banking in London and Boston. And then during the crash of 2000 and yeah, post kind of like when it was 2010, I left and my now husband and I went traveling all over the world, like Australia, New Zealand, Asia, South America. It was amazing. And I was like, well, I go back into the corporate world. And then I walked into a drama school and I ended up becoming an actress and a screenwriter. And I thought in my head, God, when I get to a position where I'm developing and actually making amazing work, like that's going to be amazing and that's going to be the dream. So I was working for a beautiful animation company. We just got a gorgeous show commissioned, which is out now all over the
That's
world, Maddie and
amazing.
Triggs. And yeah, it's the first show about a little girl who happens to be vision impaired and her dog Triggs, and they go on magical musical adventures. And we pitched that in France, and we had a beautiful development slate of lots of different projects. Two friends since they were 8, best people to work with ever. And then my mom's cancer came back, and I was in a room one day developing a show, and it was like I had an out of body experience. It was like I was floating above myself, and it was like I'm going to quit my job today, and I'm going to set up this company. And a few months before, I'd been down at a retreat in Ireland by the cliffs of Moher. It's an amazing retreat centre down there, and I'd done Wim Hof breathing for the first time, which was unbelievable. And there was also a festival of the lost arts in the little Ennistymon in the local town, which has a Steiner school, and it's really beautiful down there, right on the other side of the coast. So the Atlantic Ocean is like this side of the coast of Ireland, and our next stop is America. And there was a woman weaving baskets. It was older people passing on their skills of, we have in Irish tradition, Shanachie storytelling. It's like an oral form of storytelling that's very important in our culture. And there was baking, but I saw this woman weaving and I was like, oh my God, that's it. You just said it actually in the introduction to this call. It's the weaving together of all the different strands of what it is to activate your inner healing mechanism. And I was thinking, how do I put together like my experiences in banking and my storytelling abilities and then building biology and then functional medicine? And because when I was in banking, my dad died very young of lung cancer. I was only 17 and he'd just gone 48. So he left my mum with five kids and a business she didn't know anything about. And there had been talk of asbestos being in the ground. It was an old iron forgery. And he was just so young. So I hadn't really dealt with the trauma of that. I went into banking and was drinking and smoking and out with clients and traveling and living what I thought was this amazing life on this huge salary. And actually I got life-threatening anaphylaxis. I had severe eczema, had lots of other autoimmune stuff going on. I was getting shingles and viruses and I was in bits. I could put like a cream on my face and take a reaction and be like an elephant. And then when I went into acting, I was like, if I'm going to be going for auditions, I need to get a handle on my health, you know? So that was kind of learning about functional medicine, getting to the root cause, learning about what's good health and the microbiome and all this kind of stuff. And then realizing I've actually got multiple chemical sensitivity. And then my friend Lucy McCullough, you know, the interior designer, she was becoming a building biologist and she was educating me a lot. So I kind of was trying to building biology up my first house. And then for my 40th during COVID, I was saying to my husband, I want to become a building biologist. So that's the gift that I'd love. And, you know, it's like the universe was kind of pushing me along. And that day in that room, with lovely people who were doing an amazing project. It was like, we've been giving you lots of signs. We've given you the name of the company. Now you need to get out there and do it. So I incorporated the company on the 31st of November, which is a very shamanistic day, again, in Irish culture and for women. And my mum passed away like a few weeks later. And then we had our beautiful seminar
Which
in
is
North
where
Carolina.
we met, by the way.
And
In North
where we
Carolina
met.
at our first electromagnetic radiation seminar, which
Yeah,
was now a
yeah.
year ago. And
Before the
that's
storm,
right.
before the terrible storms there. Yeah. That was a gorgeous week. Yeah, it was. Yeah, and I hadn't been allowed into the States for 2 years. So my mum was like, you have to go. This is really important, even though she was like, what on earth is she doing now? Um, and then I came back from that trip and my mum was in hospital and she passed away within a few weeks. And I suppose because it was a second parent having breast cancer, after my mum got diagnosed the first time, then I started to get into natural sofas, natural beds, making natural sofas for her, importing them from the UK because I couldn't get them done in Ireland. And I started looking at it in a much, much deeper way to really try and make her better, but also because my mum fixated and obsessed about getting cancer
Mm,
herself after my dad, to try and proactively take care of my health as much as possible rather than manifest getting cancer, if you
right.
like, So, yeah. And then I want to help other people overcome or alleviate chronic illness. And you know how beautiful this field of science is. When you have a healthy home, it's a real gift in the modern world. Yeah, where we're bombarded by so
That's
much
right.
stuff.
To know that you can go home and it's safe and it's not going to harm you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think your story incorporating all of these elements of your background is so interesting. And obviously, you care about people first, which is the most important part of what we do. So, sleep is critical for us to heal. And you've experienced this personally, as have I. We spend one third of our lives sleeping. And so it's
Mm.
critical that we maintain a restful, rejuvenating space. So when we advise clients on their built environment, we place a major emphasis on the bedrooms. Can you share in your own words why we hone in on the sleeping area?
Yeah, because it's such a big pillar of our health. So you could be having the best functional diet in the world, have a beautiful movement practice, have a great spiritual practice, and then you have this insomnia in the bedroom. And when you have broken or really poor quality sleep, it actually kind of knocks everything else out. So why it's very important to have a rejuvenating sleep free of toxins as much as possible, with amazing air quality that's as close to being in the forest or in nature, and then free of man-made electromagnetic radiation if possible, or as much as possible. It allows the body to kick out oxidative stress. It's like full DNA repair, total regeneration for the body. All of our cells, everything kind of resets. Um, 7 to 9 hours usually, but some people need more, some people need less. I love the work of Matthew Walker, Why We Sleep. And that's why the bedroom is so important, because it's so supportive of our
The human
health.
body is amazing, truly
Isn't
amazing,
it?
because
I know, it's
we have this
miraculous.
self rejuvenating system that has the ability to repair itself during sleep. And so we have to
Yeah.
give the body what it wants. And unfortunately, I think so many people are sleeping in bedrooms that they just might not realize are harming their health. So I love
Mhm.
contrast in my life so that I can kind of see the opposites to figure out where I'm going. So let's talk about what is not a sleep sanctuary. What would you say?
It is amazing how many people say, "Should I have my phone in my bedroom, Laura?" And I'm going, no, because I sleep with it under my pillow, but I use it as an alarm. And I said, "Is it on?" Um, yeah. So because mobile phones came in without any really proper safety testing, and it's like the whole market just catapulted, and the phones got stronger, and we had 3G and 4G and now 5G. Um, there was a normalization of having technology kind of on or around our bodies all the time, and we're all being told it's safe. But in fact, the WHO has categorized Wi-Fi and radio frequency as a 2B carcinogen. So that's in the same category as lead, chloroform, exhaust fumes,
Yeah.
tobacco. So that's a pretty huge statement from the World Health Organization. So what we should not do is put our phones anywhere near the bedroom if possible. Is it okay to put it on airport mode and use it as an alarm? Yeah, when we measure that with a meter, everything is pretty low, but better again would be old style alarm clock. It costs like $10, $15 with a battery in the back, non LED lights, and it actually
Mm-hmm.
works great. But in our work and working with clients who have very ingrained habits for years and years and years, it's actually really kind of hard to change that piece of behavior. People are like, but the alarm mightn't go off, the battery might, not work, or it might need to be replaced, and then I won't wake up. And so when we kind of train our body and our circadian rhythm, actually the best thing is to wake up naturally. When we have that really rejuvenating, really healthy sleep, our body actually knows when to wake up. So I wake up at the exact same time every morning. But when we rely on the phone, and I think Matthew Walker's the biggest thing I take from his book is going to sleep at the same time every night and waking up at the same time is the best health practice in terms of sleep hygiene for your health. Now, obviously, we might have a dinner, we might have a wedding, we might have stuff, but for the most part, for 90% of the time, but take the phone out of the bedroom if you can and replace it with an old-style alarm clock. And tiny steps, tiny habits. Maybe if people want that protection of having the phone on airport mode and the alarm and it being really far away from their bed and the alarm clock, for their body to be like, okay, it's okay, we trust the alarm clock. That's okay, because it's a big habit to change.
And I think that's scary for a lot of people because they have just been so
Yeah.
ingrained to living a certain way. I mean, I used to sleep with my cell phone under my pillow in college. I didn't think about it. And so I try to encourage my clients that these swaps can take time. So, you might have a
Yes.
building biologist come to your home to do a whole home assessment and find all the things and
Mm.
fix all the things for you, but there's this implementation piece that we want to encourage our clients. Say, don't be overwhelmed. We know we just healthified your home, but some of this can take a couple years to get used to. I would say it took me
Yeah.
about 5 years to get to a point where I have everything dialed in. I mean, from
Yeah.
being completely hardwired with Ethernet. I started off turning off my Wi-Fi, and that's a great first step for people.
Mm.
Now we
Yeah.
don't have Wi-Fi because I am hardwired, but it's a process, and it certainly takes time. But that's why start with the bedroom because uh, if your
Yeah.
bedroom is like walking into Best Buy or Costco, I mean good luck trying to sleep, right? We want to remove as many
Yeah.
funky devices as possible. And that's just talking
Yeah.
about the EMF side of things.
Yeah. And even, when we consider what electrosmog is, even if we've a lamp plugged in right beside where we're sleeping, and say the switch is off, which we know turns off the electric field, sorry, the magnetic field, but the electric field is still going zoom zoom in the wire, and it's right beside our body. So it actually, if you were to take a meter and put the sound up, it'd be like interference.
Hmm.
So it's electricity as well, and the magnetic fields, which is obviously very specific and a little bit complex to get your head around. But actually taking electricity, all of the EMFs out of the bedroom, and I suppose it's interesting to say to people, how does it feel now after a week or a month? Now that you've taken the phone out of the bedroom, now that you've just pulled the plugs out maybe of everything in the room, do you feel any better? Is your sleep getting any better? That's just obviously one thing you can do. There's so many other things as well, like the exposure to blue light late at night, the 3-2-1 rule, like no food 3 hours before, no blue light, and then, no water maybe an hour before. If you've had babies, you might want to go to the toilet during the night. So even like not drinking water too close to bed. And then there's the toxin side of things as well, and the bed you sleep on. So there's a lot.
As far as EMF,
Yeah.
electromagnetic fields, for those who are unfamiliar, or also known as electromagnetic radiation. So it's it's easier for people to wrap their head around it if they can realize that our body has its own electrical system. So we are
Hmm.
electrical. And there are impulses in our body that are generated by our brain used for intercellular communication. And so, what you were saying with the live wiring, even in our walls, behind our headboard at night, we like to encourage people when they get to this step, but to turn off their circuit breaker at night so that they
Yes.
can kill essentially the live wires behind the wall that are creating electric fields and magnetic fields if they don't have MC cable conduit. So I
Mm,
think that's a huge piece in our work that isn't really
yeah.
thought of. And actually, I encouraged my sister and my brother-in-law to do this. And I followed up with them later and I said, "How is your sleep?" And my brother-in-law said, "It feels like camping." Doesn't it feel like
Yes,
that?
exactly. In the forest. Yeah. Yes, exactly. And it takes like, it's not a complex thing for an electrician to do. It's just I have one of the boxes here somewhere in my office, but the gigahertz,
Yeah.
it's like that size. Unless your circuits are, you just have to make sure your circuits aren't linked to your fire alarm, which sometimes the fire alarm can be outside if you have two stories or even an apartment outside there. So that's the only thing you might have to consider, that you're not knocking off that.
Yeah, and working with a licensed electrician can help you figure out where your connection is to your bedroom so that you can just turn those
Yeah.
circuits off and not having to touch any other circuits. Of course, we always recommend hiring a electromagnetic radiation specialist to make sure that things are going to
Mhm.
plan and that there aren't other things that we might be cutting off, like you mentioned. And so that's
Yeah.
another side of electromagnetic fields that I think is often misunderstood. People do know, are getting to know more about the radio frequency side. So you're
Yes.
talking about phones and iPads and helping clients remove those sources and switch to alarm clocks that are battery powered.
Yeah. And also, then you say we are electrical systems ourselves. The heart also has a magnetic field. And I suppose we don't want to be interfering with the natural systems. And we want to get it from the earth as well, which is why grounding is so good. But then when we were in our training in North Carolina, I couldn't believe one of our colleagues, I think it was August, was saying she had measured a house and one of those essential oil vaporizers was beside someone's bed, and she said it was enormous in terms of the magnetic field and the electric field. So just keeping in mind, like, what do I have in my bedroom? Is my hairdryer plugged in from earlier? What about the essential oil? And it's funny, our colleague Valentina, who's amazing, who's in Dubai, one of her podcasts said, like, no scents in the room whatsoever. So get the perfumes out, get the body lotions out. Obviously, we're using natural stuff anyway as much as we can, but actually, no scent is great in the bedroom. Let's strip like everything away and let's just
Mm-hmm.
sleep. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because we often do have like shelves of products and smelly stuff and just stuff around. And the great thing about the demand switch is you don't have to worry about plugging everything out. Once you use your last light or your last plug, it knocks out
Yeah.
automatically. And then once you start again in the morning, if it's the winter and you're putting the lights on, again, it pops on automatically. So it's just a really easy way to cut all the fields, and then you don't have to worry about unplugging
Great.
everything. Obviously, when you're away, when we're traveling, we do that. But yeah, it's a really
Yeah,
amazing
and it's as
tool.
simple as a light switch. So it can just be you know, and electricity has only been around about 100 years. So we are technically guinea pigs still. And we will know in another 100 years
Yeah,
how it's working out for us or not. And so,
yeah.
I would rather sleep like I'm camping than the latter anyway. But yeah.
My partner Jimmy in the natural furniture company, he said he knows a woman who was in the corporate world and then she went to the west of Ireland to live in a cottage with no electricity, just as an experiment. And then when she added everything back in again, she started to get really sick. So it just goes to show you, and she just said she felt like her, the typical symptoms we see when you're electromagnetically hypersensitive: head burning, headaches, heart palpitations, skin burning if it's 5G. So it is kind of, we don't know because we've never been away from it. So that's why, even to say I'd love to for people to sleep in my house and go up there now for a
Right.
week and see what it's like, because you don't know until you know what the difference is. Even with hardwiring, Like if I go away and I can't, we were in France skiing, and I was like, "Where's the Wi-Fi box? I need to take out the Wi-Fi," and it was in the locked cupboard.
Bummer.
So we had to go to the people who rent and ask them for the key, and because they couldn't turn off the Wi-Fi, and I majorly noticed a
Yeah.
difference,
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
time.
For me, the
Yeah,
symptoms are brain fog, that tingling
yeah.
in my, I can feel it in my hands. Um,
I get this as well from my
yes.
pad on the Mac, which is why I have like a super old school mouse, which took me a long time to find. You can see it's been used so much. Yes. I get it on my phone as well. So I have to use a stylus because after a while I'll just get burnt.
So this is my little trick. So a little tripod that I can just put my phone on so I
Ooh,
don't have to touch it if I'm
that's
if I'm switching it
great.
off airplane mode. Okay, there you go. Yeah, you have the same thing.
Yeah, and this is a fallen
Mhm.
ash tree, and it's an old guy who's in an artisan market up the
I
road, and
love
he
it.
makes them.
I love it.
So yeah, I just thought the wooden woman, and your thing is great
And
as
of
well.
course, like,
Yeah,
we can, people don't realize you can access the internet on your phone with the right dongles and the right little
yeah,
adapters. So, yes, so
yeah,
much of what we love and what we do in our work is old school and full of ancient wisdom, but we are living in the modern world in a way that is safer and healthier for our bodies. And I mean, you know this, like you
yeah.
are sensitive to environmental issues, as am I. And we can kind of walk into a space
Mhm.
and know immediately, like, okay, I need to edit this, I need to change this, I need to fix this. So,
Yeah.
um,
And my kids now, because there's natural paint in my house and 100% hardwood and natural varnishes for everything. And when they go into like a store with perfume, say, or really smelly candles, they're like, "Oh my God, mom, the smell, get me out of here." And that's really interesting to me because I'm like, they just have always known that. Like I had natural births and home births and they're breastfed. So they have just always known as close to nature as possible. And if they go into a store, they're the ones actually, I'm kind of like, I'll just have to put up with it for 5 minutes, but they go mad. They're like, "Mom, my God, the smell is awful. We got to get out of here immediately." So it's interesting with kids, like teaching them the tools is really amazing because they're the next generation that are going to bring.
yeah, that's right. That's right. And they know right
Yeah,
away that nature is the end goal. Nature is
yeah,
what we need to continue to heal and regenerate our bodies. And so basically everything that we are implementing into our clients' homes, their lives, our work, we're trying to get as close to nature as possible at the end of the day. So speaking of close to nature, I want to talk about circadian rhythms, the sun. I want to talk
yes.
about light bulbs. You have a story about light bulbs with, was it your mom in the hospital? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I have a photograph that I took one morning. One of my sisters took over. We were with my mom like 24/7 for the last few weeks. And all the lights in hospitals are super bright LEDs, which they say, "Oh, we have to have these bright LEDs because we're taking bloods and, this, that, and the other." But she was passing away. So, they were just using the pump and maybe changing her. And funny, like every morning at 5 a.m., because you're in the hospital environment, and actually it was over Christmas, so there was a lot of cover staff. They would switch on the lights and be all LED bright lights, and they'd have to change my mum. And I'd go, "Oh my God, please, she's been really distressed all night. She's just gone to sleep. Could we just leave the changing even for an hour or two?" But of course, hospital procedure, we've got to tick the box. And then my mum would wake up and it would be like, to get her to go back to sleep or rest again was really tough. And so my sister and I brought in our beautiful side lamps with our halogen incandescent bulbs. Actually, my sister, I think, had an LED bulb, but she's not is not as familiar with this work, but I sneakily was changing all the bulbs. And I figured out with all the light switches how to turn all even the
Amazing.
LED ones that were going around the panel. And then every time, every time any of the nurses left, I'd unplug the bed because Larry,
Larry
our
Guest.
teacher, had said what huge fields are in electric. So we have patients on these beds with massive fields, and then of course there were antennas all on the top of the hospital, and just outside my mum's room, the actual name of the hospital. But as I was leaving really late at night, I turned around and was like, oh my God. So my mum's corner suite was like a beautiful, soft amber. And the rest of the hospital was like this super bright light that was like almost blinding from out on the street, just looking at the hospital. So I definitely feel like it helped her uh, to ease into death a little bit more and just to have a calm environment. Funny, the health and safety person was away for those couple of weeks. So I was lighting all my candles. And just after my mum closed her eyes, the nurse came in and was like, oh my God, we have to blow all these candles out, like with the air filters and the whole, like it's a massive fire risk. And I said, do we really? And then I said, no, it's okay. She got to have the benefit of seeing the beautiful ledge that I'd put. But it was funny because at any other time of the year, they wouldn't have allowed me to light all the candles. And my mum was really afraid of death. So she loved candles and lighting candles. And every time she opened her eyes, that's what she saw, that beautiful ledge. And I had photos of her parents and art from the kids. And then she was in a nice lit environment, nice soft lighting to induce kind of rest and sleep and peace. But yeah, the hospital environment, when we think that people are healing and then they have these bright LED lights on the blue light spectrum, lots of antennas everywhere, and then the big beds, which I know they need in a hospital environment, but maybe not so EMFy.
What a beautiful an honor to your mom to allow her to just have that deep rest and that peace as she's exiting the world. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, I was massaging her feet and I had a beautiful rose oil that my friend Celine makes. I was actually I was doing this on her head and she was like, "Oh, that's lovely." Usually she'd say, "What's that feckin' Buddhist music you're, excuse my language, you're playing?" But I was playing the Devi prayer, the Divine Mother, and she started to kind of go, "That's really lovely. I really like that music. It's so interesting." And then my sister came in one day and she said, "Jesus, she has a huge fever. Look at her forehead. She's sweating." And I just said, "That's the oil." And she's like, "For God's sake, stop putting your oil on her." So it's just funny, like different siblings have kind of different things going on. But you probably are familiar with the work of Martin Moore-Eid, the light doctor, that brilliant man. Oh, I'll have to share his podcast. So he did the first piece of research ever to prove that human beings have the same circadian rhythm as animals. So we didn't actually know, we did know that intuitively or subconsciously, but we didn't actually know it scientifically. And everybody wants to prove everything scientifically. So he was a surgeon and he was falling asleep during surgery, lots of brain fog, couldn't remember writing a prescription the day before. And Harvard, I think it was Harvard, invited him to do this piece of research where they had nurses and doctors go into a hospital environment. I think it was between 10 and midnight. If I don't have 100% of the details right, it's on his podcast and it's in his book, and he has a website, thelightdoctor.com. And one half went in and did their usual all LED lights, normal hospital environment. The other half went into a relaxation room, which was in the dark or with very low light bulbs. Um, and then they had injected rats, which is a little bit, I find a little bit disturbing for the poor rats, but they had injected breast cancer cells in two sets of rats. They drew blood from the two sets of people. They then injected those blood samples into the rats. 24 hours, the set of rats where the people had been in rest and digest and in the relaxation room and had kind of started to sleep, they had zero breast cancer, and it had quadrupled in the rats who'd been injected with the blood from only 2 hours exposure to blue light. And he talks about the fact that there is no cancer, prostate and breast being the big ones that we see in men and women, in places in Africa and places in the world that haven't really electrified themselves up as much as some parts of the West, or aren't exposed to loads of devices and blue light and blue light LED bulbs in
Yeah.
particular.
Wow, that's amazing. That reminds me of there's a study
Yeah,
done that shows 2 hours of blue light use, whether that's from your iPad, your phone, or your TV before bed. 2 hours brings your melatonin levels
yeah.
so low to daytime levels. Yeah, so we
Wow.
want this sleep hormone called melatonin to help us just get into rejuvenating deep sleep.
Yeah, and I was listening to Dr. Jenny. I'm trying to remember her second name, but she was talking about sunglasses, and she doesn't wear sunglasses. You can see the light now coming in here. I've stopped wearing them because she said it blocks the pineal gland and this whole area of melatonin production here. So maybe I go around like this, but yeah, I've
Good.
stopped wearing them because I was like, that makes so much sense. So we put on the glass. It's one of the things in functional medicine they ask in the super long questionnaire, and you have a big 2 hour meeting, and it goes right back to when you're in the womb, you're in utero. What was happening in your mum's life? What was your birth like? Were you breastfed? Did you have a lot of antibiotic use, etc.? But one of the things is, are you sensitive to light? And a few years ago, when I went to my functional medicine doctor, I was so sensitive to light. I was like, oh yeah, I have to wear glasses like from when I wake up and in the car, and then you train yourself consciously. Can I expose myself a little bit more to natural light and actually stop being so squinty? And over time, I actually don't need the sunglasses anymore. I like the look of them; they look cool. But you see people wearing them all the time, and then even indoors, and they wear them really late into the evening, even when it's dark. So maybe that's just another habit, or I mean, it does look cool. It's definitely a
Yeah.
cool
And
fashion
you know,
thing.
we love fashion, of course, but
We do. Yeah.
but I think it makes me sad to see little kids wearing sunglasses because they are developing and setting into rhythm their circadian system. And so
Yeah.
they're really not
Yeah.
able to receive the full benefit of the spectrum coming from the sun. And so, I would ask somebody if they do wear sunglasses a lot, tell me about your sleep. Like, is it impacting getting into deep, restful sleep? And one thing that's interesting
Mm.
is we want a room that is totally blacked out. So, you know how some people will wear
Yes.
sleep masks, and that's great if that can help them get to sleep.
Yeah.
But our eyes have these receptors in the same way that our skin has photoreceptors, as you know. So our skin is able to pick up
Mhm.
light, and that's how we can convert sunlight into vitamin D. Okay, so
Mm.
that's why we encourage folks to have a blacked out room, not just a sleep mask, because our body, our
Yeah.
skin knows whether or not the sun is out or not, and that's why we want to turn off any overhead lights as the sun is setting. We're following the rhythm of that. We want to
Yeah.
be turning off overheads. We want to be turning on sconces. We want to be turning on red lights,
Mm.
amber lights, like you did with your mom in the hospital, just beautifully. And that's a habit that people can get into, but light is critical for us to get into that deep, restful sleep.
Can I ask you, because I love wearing a silk eye mask, but do you think it's better to just let the eyes be nakedly nakedly absorbing? I'm just thinking now, in the same way as the sunglasses, take off the mask and just have a really
That's what
dark
I
bedroom.
would I would suggest. If you can do
Yeah,
that.
mine slips off anyway. Yeah, it slips off. So I never have it in the morning. But yeah, that's an interesting one. I think I'm going to lose. Do you know what? It's getting cheaper and cheaper to live
It is
naturally.
actually.
I know. This is the first time I got my nails done in I don't know how long. It's a natural varnish, but I hadn't got my nails done in like 8 months. People were probably like, "Wow, she's not very doesn't groom herself very well." Because I went to a health store in Texas with my sister, and sorry, the sunlight now is it's just my melatonin boosting. And he was looking at the nails and the moons on my nails, and he had a whole chart of nail health, and I thought, I'm just going to take everything off so that I can regularly have a look at my nails and check
Great.
in with my health.
Great. Yeah, there is something to be said. I mean, I'm the same way, naked nails, and I haven't done my nails in years, but there is some research showing about how our nails need to be able to breathe. So I'm curious about what you're using, and I've yet to go down this rabbit hole yet to find a natural nail
Mm.
polish. I just haven't, I've had a million other things to research.
Yeah, I know exactly. It's like, so there were two salons called Skinful Affairs here, and it was a nail polish free of 16
Okay.
toxic chemicals. And I used to find it pretty, I never would get shellac or biab. I don't do any of that stuff. But I just haven't been, I've been happy not to use nail varnish for ages, but someone had bought me, I must get the name of it for you, this one. And actually, I didn't react to it and it didn't really smell of much. But I'm dying to get it off now because it's just annoying me, and I want to let the nails breathe now. I've come away with loads of tips now. So I'm going to lose the eye mask and I'm not going to put that on again. And I'm just saving so much
Don't you
money.
love our community? We're like always bouncing ideas off of each
Yes.
other.
I'm going to save so much on nails. It's like going to be thousands. And then the eye mask,
Well,
yeah.
okay, you mentioned it, toxins. Let's talk about what are toxins in the bedroom.
Could be a VOC coming off a paint. Could be again like a. It depends if someone has come to the world of natural products yet. So that's a whole other area, isn't it, that we could talk about for a long time. But if there's one thing that people should look out for on a label in a common soap or moisturizer or shampoo, it's sodium lauryl sulfate, SLS. I think we now have 22,000 studies proving how damaging it is, including organ and kidney damage, and huge skin reactions to that as well. It's a foaming agent, and I really would love to see it
Yes.
removed from every product. So, but even if it is, and it was Valentina's podcast that made me think about this, even if it is a natural essential oil or something natural and gorgeous, yeah, I like the idea of just stripping the bedroom and keeping it super neutral. But VOCs could be in a composite wood MDF shelf. So that's dipped in urea
Right.
formaldehyde. So you've got that, you've got the VOC potentially in your paint. You have got, there's so much stuff. It could be an acrylic based varnish on your bed. If it's not 100% hardwood bed, the MDF is in the bed. Obviously, we don't want to sleep on a metal bed
Can you explain why that is? Why we don't encourage sleeping on a metal bed?
because it's a conductor for electricity. So again, if we go back to the EMF point, it's huge interference with the body. It doesn't really seem natural to sleep on a metal bed, does it? Like even just somatically, or if you banged into it, the noise of it, it's quite clinical and cold. And we didn't sleep in metal out in nature. Do you know what I mean? For millions of years before we started moving indoors to spend so much time indoors. Um, and then the mattress that you sleep on. Obviously, I co-distribute a German natural furniture company called Dormiente. So one of the things again with my mom and then us as a family and my health, I just did not know anything. You don't know until you know. I did not know what foam, fake foam was, that it was derived from petrochemicals, that it was synthetic, that it wasn't breathable, that it could have thousands of chemicals on it. So the thing I love about Dormiente is Dr. Planker tests for over 200 chemical residues twice a year in a high-end lab in Germany. So you can guarantee that there's at
Yeah.
least 200 super
Amazing.
harmful chemicals in an average mattress. And Grenfell Towers, do you know about the huge tower block in London near Notting Hill that there was a big fire? It was very controversial. Yeah, so a few years ago, there was a huge block of flats, and a lot of the people who lived in there were working class people. And it was a big scandal in the UK because there was cladding on the outside of the building that should have been redone and it wasn't. So that was a huge safety risk. The thing caught on fire and it was horrific. It was kind of like the Twin Towers. But the biggest, Chemisphere magazine did a story on it, and the biggest thing that I kind of took away from it was that 80% of people died from the toxic inhalation of the fumes from the synthetic sofas and mattresses, and the cladding as well. There was quite a lot of toxic stuff in the cladding before the fire reached them. And we've got fire retardants. So in America, and then it's a colonial thing in the UK, in Ireland, because we were colonized by the UK. Not in Europe, they're banned. And I think Australia and Canada, I think they're the only countries that do fire retardants. I would love to see them
Yep.
gone because we know that they're carcinogenic. And for babies sleeping on a synthetic foam mattress with fire retardants, they only delay a fire maximum by 3 seconds, by the way. And yeah, babies are inhaling all those toxins and those super harmful fire retardants into their systems, and they have a very immature immune system when they're that tiny. And then the off gas. So every time we sit on a couch that's a synthetic foam, lie on a bed, we can't smell it. So it's a difficult one to get your head around, because with tobacco, it was such a tangible, strong smell. Someone started to develop a cough. It was like, we kind of knew for a long time it's probably damaging. Not the tobacco itself, actually, interestingly, if it was smoked raw, but the nicotine and all the chemicals that they add into cigarettes. And it's the same with the sofas and the beds. So if we have our EMF sorted and all the rest of our toxins, but we're still sleeping on a synthetic foam mattress, that's like a major, major toxin to our health. And then we sweat into the bed, like a pint, at least a pint of water, depending, maybe a lot more if you're taller, into the mattress, and it doesn't have anywhere to go because it's not breathable and it's not absorbing. So then we get mold on the foam, which I've seen, which is super gross. And obviously, as we know, an area we look at closely in building biology. So a gift to yourself, if there was one gift in the bedroom, and we've spent a third of our lives here, a natural mattress made of like natural breathable materials that we find in nature.
That's right. That's right.
A
Yeah,
no-brainer.
and there are more and more
Yeah.
companies that are coming out with these products for like
Yes.
the company that you are a partner in. Can you tell us what the name of that is one more
Yeah.
time?
Yeah. So it's called Dormiente. I actually have the yoga pillow here. Sorry, I should have. I was about to show you, Loja.
Sure,
Would
of
you like to
course.
see? Yeah, sure. Just give me a second and I'll hop over
Yeah,
and
well, you're
show
going to
you.
grab that. I'll just say a few comments for the listeners here. We want to recommend that you use beds without metal or even products containing glue, because glue can off gas. So particle board is mixed with glue products. So we want to avoid particle board in the bedroom in our houses for sure. We want to avoid metal box springs, because metal springs can amplify and distort the Earth's natural magnetic field. And we can show this through a simple compass test. So natural materials, we opt for natural bedding, linens, and cottons versus synthetic materials. So sheets, comforters, hugely important that those are made with preferably organic materials without petrochemicals or
Yeah. Yeah.
solvents, because those will off gas.
So much to think about.
Hire a building biologist and let them figure it out for you.
Exactly, exactly. No, because it is hard. The big thing that I don't know what the initial feedback is for your clients, but it's like it's also overwhelming. Like there's so much to do, and it's like no worries, we can mitigate everything. We can do it in your own time. That's why I went to study to become a functional medicine health coach, because I was like, you get this report which is 40, 50, 60 pages, and it's like, what am I supposed to do with that? I don't even know where to start. So yeah, I love that the two of us and lots of other colleagues of ours um, guide the client through all the changes.
Right. There are people that can help you so you don't have to be overwhelmed. Okay, show us what you got, Laura.
Yeah, everyone needs a coach. I don't have the catalog here; it's in my other office. But this is the Dormienti Sports range. You get this is a gorgeous hemp bag that you get. I just happen to have the yoga pillow um, in my office, so that's kind of the branding. Sorry, the pillow is here on the side. They're doing yoga mats as well, and yeah. But we do mattresses, hardwood beds. There's actually a range of just beds made from felled trees, which is really cool. And the main mattress is rubber latex.
Create beds from fallen trees is a unique offering.
It's
Mhm.
cool,
Yeah,
isn't
I was just
it?
on the phone with a client yesterday who is building a home on quite a bit of acreage, and they're gonna have to take down some trees to build. And so I said, "Hey, let's reuse the trees that we're going to cut down somewhere on your property." I mean, we can get creative with all these
Fabulous.
things.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. You could make furniture
Fence
and
posts even, and
maybe even if you've got it.
yeah.
Yes, great idea. Yeah, resalvaging and reusing is fantastic. So the main, I mean, obviously, given there's a small percentage of people who are allergic to rubber latex, so there is a non-rubber latex mattress, but the majority is made from natural rubber latex. So you just hang the bucket around the tree and the sap is collected and it's spun into a natural foam. It's super, super heavy. So it's like, I would say at least 5 to 6 times heavier than a synthetic foam mattress.
And
So it's very, very heavy. And then these are flaked. These are the flexi cuts. And we use these to go inside the organic cotton or hemp or bamboo pillow. Some of these are mixed with wool because I was doing a kids' pillow workshop. So they're all mixed in together. We tend not to put wool inside the pillow because it's a little bit immovable and it can create kind of some bulky bits. And then with your pillow, you can take out these to make a smaller pillow if you like a flatter pillow. And you can use it for filling for natural cushions or whatever else. So there's a washable and a non-washable cover. Obviously the wool, so this is the organic sheep's wool. It's just absolutely gorgeous. You know, in Ireland, 1 million sheep fleeces are thrown on the land every year. It wouldn't even be worth the farmer paying the petrol to go and sell them at market. So I am hoping to contribute to a homegrown Irish sheep wool business, both for fillings like this and also for insulation, for attic insulation. And this is a layer of hemp.
beautiful hemp. We love hemp.
So that layer,
Yeah.
it's cool, isn't it? So you can have hemp, coconut coir sandwiched into it. There's a new one called seagrass. So it's literally like dried seaweed. So there's also lots of vegan options if you don't want to do like the organic pure new wool. Yeah, and then they have a whole slat system underneath called a physioform slat system. So the slats go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they can be molded into the shape of your body. And if you had an injury or if you were breastfeeding even and in the bed with the baby a lot, you can adjust the bed for that. But the other thing is we also make incisions in the mattresses. It's called zone profiling and incisions. And we do a female and male mattress. So it can be soft, medium or firm rubber latex. And then you can have the holes drilled in. Every single mattress is handcrafted and bespoke. This is not off the shelf stuff. And it takes like 5 to 8 weeks to manufacture. And so for men, their widest point of their body are their shoulders, and for women, it's the hips. So we have more holes drilled in around the shoulder area for men and then around the hips. But you can also mimic that with the slat system underneath. So it's a whole like orthopedic thinking about the body, completely adjustable. But it's important that you support the rubber latex mattress as well, so that the gaps don't exceed I think it's 3 centimeters, because
Yeah.
it's so heavy. If you want to lengthen the life of the mattress, we need lots and lots of support for the body, but also for the super
Yeah,
heavy
and
mattress.
breathability with the slatted bed is important. Actually, this reminded me is maybe in terms more of feng shui with the bedroom is making sure that there's nothing
Mm,
under your bed frame. Like you don't want to be storing a bunch of junk under your bed where you sleep every night. 'Cause there's a subconscious thing that can happen that we might not pick up in the conscious world, but what is surrounding us in our bedrooms, we are paying attention to that and we are picking up on that
mm,
subliminal level. So that just reminded me to say that comment about, not
yeah.
storing.
No, because there might be metal. I had a metal box under my bed, and then I came back from our EMF training, and I was like, excuse me, I've got a metal box under my bed. I think I'm doing everything great. But yeah, we keep learning, I think keeping it simple.
Simple and going back to nature. And so I love all the products that you shared because anytime you bring a natural material into your bedroom, you are helping the air quality. And so air quality is
Yes.
extremely important when we're sleeping for 8 to 9 hours a night. One of the elements that we like to suggest is removing carpet. That's ideal. I mean, you can have
Mm,
your
yeah.
beautiful woven wool rug, but remove carpet and have something that is
Mm,
hard. We obviously love wood, but even
yeah.
an excellent vacuum cleaner with a HEPA grade filter is advised. We love to open windows. Sometimes people do
Yeah.
need a solid filter in their bedrooms if they are combating some of these synthetic proponents.
Yeah. And then if the outdoor air quality is poor or you're living by a highway or whatever and you're in an apartment block, then you may not be able to open the windows so much. For people renting, maybe an air filter
Yeah.
is important. Yeah. I just run it every so often anyway, just to kind of clean the place out. Yeah, and I just do sheepskins beside the bed so that when you get out of the bed, like your feet are on the lovely
I
sheepskin.
do too.
And then I just get rid of
I
them in the
love my
summer.
sheepskins.
Yeah, I take them away in the summer. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
so good, aren't they? Yeah, I'm doing yoga, prenatal yoga training with a wonderful lady, Lou Horgan, and I think it was her I learned it from. Now I put a sheepskin on every single yoga mat if I'm doing a women's
Okay, I
circle or I'm
love that.
practicing because it's just so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We've talked about
but it's
so
good.
many amazing things, Laura. Is there anything else that you can think of or you would like to comment on how to create a sleep sanctuary?
Oh gosh, this so I couldn't we talk about this for like 10 hours? I suppose winding down to sleep, I had a lovely guy contact me the other day and he's like, I knew you'd be the person to ask. Like, it was about his son who was just, waking up and very unsettled at night. And I interviewed a guy called Sean Boylan, who's an old herbalist and
Oh,
healer for radio a few years ago. And I always remember this story. He told me about his son being born in a hurry, and he's been in a hurry ever since. And he used to take him to the sea to ground his feet in the sea for all the minerals to literally ground him. So I was saying like maybe an Epsom salts bath with lovely magnesium, which is really good for relaxation, muscle recovery, and but it actually grounds us because it's a natural salt. And then a few drops of the lavender in the bath, like whatever your body wants in terms of a wind down, like whether it's like reading or I like to do kind of a sauna and then like have a shower and then go to bed. Like, yeah, taking time to moisturize your body and really like giving that love to your body, or if it's journaling to let go of the day. Meditation's interesting because some people say don't meditate when you're tired because you'll just fall asleep. But I think a few minutes of meditation, if it works for you. I think the thing about the world we live in today and the biohacking world and the health world, and there's so many people who are like, you have to do the Wim Hof breathing every day. You have to get up and meditate for an hour. And it's like, maybe that works for some people, or it works for them for a while and then they move on to a different tool. Whatever it is that works for you. And that's why for my method, I say inspired by nature, designed by you, because the patient is the greatest source of information. Even we know with shielding products or with even with a natural product, it's like you have to get the client to experience that physically themselves because they are the ones who know how they feel in an environment and what works for them. So, like a nighttime routine that's sacred, that's a ritual, that's good for your body, like not having serious conversations or financial chats before bed where we go into then worrying about that. And like I always pray every night. We've had a lot of scandals in the Catholic Church in Ireland, so I do believe in God, but I have lots of other spiritual practices. I express gratitude at night. I pray for the safety of all my family and friends. And I call my guides and my ancestors in, and I invite whatever dreams are meant to come in to give me some intuition or guidance or insight or whatever. So being very connected to your
yeah.
dream cycle and just be, yeah, you say sleeping sanctuary. Sleep is sacred. It's a sacred thing. So when we think of something sacred, we've got to develop our own kind of rituals and practices around that. Yeah, so I'm very into all of that as well. Like,
Yeah, the resonant side of sleep, kind of creating an energetic bubble of safety for your body to do its thing. Your body knows how to heal, your body knows how to repair, and half the time we're just not listening. And so what what I love about following nature is slowing down and observing what nature does. And nature is careful. Nature can be intense sometimes, of course, when you think about a waterfall versus a wandering brook, but there are seasons of that and times of that. And so when we talk about creating a sleep sanctuary, yes, there's EMF solutions and air quality solutions and natural material solutions. And that is a process. So please, listeners, do not get overwhelmed by this. It is a process. But there is this spiritual and energetic component that you were hitting on, Laura, that I really value in my space. And one of the things that I love to do is to create heart and brain resonance. So I don't know if you've ever heard of heart math before.
yes, my sister teaches the Heart Math program.
Heart math,
Yeah, and she loves it.
think it's heartmath.com. There's
Yeah,
so many studies
it's
showing
amazing.
that when the heart gets online and connected with your brain, when it fully gets online, is when your cells are able to open up and receive all the goodness that you're doing, all the nutrients, all the supplements, all the advice. And it's also your cells, because they follow our heart. So if our heart is closed and shut down, our cells are closed, our cells are shut down. And so when we can open our heart up, we can receive the nutrients and we can release the toxins. And so we are building up this toxic burden just in modern living with all of these pollution sources. So, yes, there's this physical component to our work, but there is this other component that is internal, that our hearts have to get back online, opened up and softened, so that our body can look around and go, oh, her heart is open. Hey, cells, it's safe to come out and play.
And you just did this with your body, which was so lovely, the heart opening yoga
That's
practices
right.
and the stretching. And I think we have a heart-centered building biology practice, I think, as in when we're in service of our clients. I think when you activate the heart space in relation to the whole process of detoxifying and remediating or whatever, you actually reconnect with the heart in a way that's like, I love myself so much and value myself and my family and my community so much that I want to make all these changes. And then you become very open from your heart space to nature, and you start to go, now I'm understanding all the impact of the chemicals that are going back into Mother Earth, into the soil, and that cause soil depletion. And so then soil regeneration and everything we put down our sink, everything that we wash with, we're an ecological system, and we are not separate from her. We are like Father, Son, Mother Earth. We are so interconnected. Every insect, every tiny, us human beings, every animal, the soil. So then I think we get this amazing, it's a divinity, actually, it's a devotion to both ourselves and the sacredness of our own body, but to this beautiful planet that we're only caretaking for the next generation. And that's the beauty of the work, because I think you fall more in love with yourself and nature. So it's all worth it. It's all worth the pain, is what I'm saying.
Beautifully said, my friend. And I think on that
And
note,
beautifully said by
we will
you.
wrap this up. I hope the listeners will take away so much good golden nuggets. Laura, thank you so much for your time. Please tell the
Thank you
listeners
so
where they can
much.
find you, where they can learn from you, and even if they can hire you. Where can they find you?
Sure. And the BioWeaverMethod.com is my website. I'm on Instagram, and Facebook and all the usual places. I haven't done TikTok yet. I do virtual consults, and in person, obviously, as well, in Ireland and the UK and Europe.
Okay.
So yeah, you'll find me in those spots and those places.
Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful
I
weekend.
will talk to you soon.
Talk
Bye.
to you soon. Bye, my love.